Now, while the conflict is centered on Israel's fight with Palestinian militants, there are major concerns that this conflict could expand. CBC News senior correspondent Susan Ormiston is in Ottawa for that part of the story. Susan, you helped us out so much yesterday understanding the larger context of this conflict. So remind us, who else could get involved?
Yeah, I'll remind you, we talked about exactly that yesterday. Worry about the northern Israeli border with Lebanon. And today, some breaking news. Israel's military has announced that its combat helicopters did strike targets in Lebanese southern territory earlier today. And it's telling people in 28 communities along that border close to Lebanon to shelter in place for the time being. That's the latest news. And the IDF also said that 2 mortars were launched from Lebanon towards Israel after an incursion where 4 militants were able to break through the fence using explosives, get into Israel. The IDF fired artillery at them, killing 2. One went back to Beirut, so a lot of, to Lebanon, but a lot of activity in that area this morning. And that's exactly what people are fearing, that this is a real tension point along this border, particularly the idea that Hezbollah in Lebanon, very close to Hamas, may get drawn into this fight. And Hezbollah is a lot stronger militarily than Hamas. Israel predicts that it has about 150,000 missiles and other munitions aimed at Israel. So far, no indication that this is Hezbollah doing these events this morning, but there is that fear. There's also a report out of the Wall Street Journal that actually Hamas and Hezbollah, backed by Iran, had talks about this attack in Beirut for several weeks going back to August, suggesting that Iran is also involved in the planning of this attack. Here's what the U.S. State Department had to say about that.
So we don't have any direct intelligence at this point that would show Iran's direct involvement in this terrorist attack. But that said, Iran has been a longtime supporter of Hamas. That's why we've taken action to hold Iran accountable for its support of Hamas and other terrorist organizations. This administration has imposed more than 400 sanctions on Iran, and we will continue to hold it accountable.
And you know, Lebanon is a very fragile country. There's no president there. The economy is very poor. The economy is bad. People are very poor. So very delicate economic and political situation there.
And what are you seeing in terms of other reaction from leaders in that region?
Well, there have been reports all weekend that Gulf states are really trying to temper this, not to draw other Arab states into this conflict. The Arab League has scheduled a meeting on Wednesday to discuss Israel's counterattack on Gaza, as it says. And also, there are other elements involved in negotiations, such as Qatar is trying to negotiate with Hamas involving the release of those hostages, which we've heard is complicating this situation. And we're seeing, as already mentioned, that the U.S. is sending warships and munitions and supplies into the area. So lots of reaction, but really waiting to see what could develop if something triggers a wider conflict.
CBC News senior correspondent Susan Ormiston in Ottawa, thank you.
You're welcome.